It is Wednesday, October 5th, 2022. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. Producer Rob is back at the helm. It's good to have him back as well on this final regular season day. 162. Are you sad at all or no?
I'm sad we're not playing for anything today, man. That's like the best. When we
Yeah,
have
that
all the games
sucks.
going off together and we're watching, scoreboard watching. Oh my God, what's happening in the fourth inning? What's happening in the sixth inning? All that stuff. But as far as the regular season being over, no, I'm not sad. I'm excited, dude. Like, this is what it's about now. Playoffs are here. The matchups are set. We can start to analyze, predict a little bit. But in the end, man, it's just me, you watching a bunch of games
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to try to tell you what we think is going to happen, but you're going to ask me a question here, and I've been going over it. These matchups are incredible, dude. I think they
There's some
worked
good
out
ones.
perfectly.
Yeah. I admit that if you had told me at the beginning of the year that not one thing in terms of seeding or who could get into the playoffs would matter on 162, I'd be shocked. I'm a little surprised, I have to admit.
Yeah. A little
Little
disappointed.
surprised and it's somewhat disappointed, but that's okay. Well, let's kick it off. In game 161, somebody turned 62.
Swung on. There it goes. Deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone. Number 62 to set the new American League record. Aaron Judge hits his 62nd. All the Yankees out of the dugout to greet him. Just think of it. 3 Yankee right fielders. The Babe hitting 60 and 27. The Jolly Roger hitting 61 and 61. And now Aaron Judge hits his 62nd home run, the most home runs any American leaguer has hit in a single season. And the American League has been alive for 120 years. This is Judgment Day. Case closed.
Getting a chance to, have my name next to, someone as great as Roger Maris, Babe Ruth, those guys is incredible.
Your thoughts as you watched it?
There was a lot of emotion going on. I tried to put myself in his shoes. I never was a player like Aaron Judge, but to see like his reaction, and although he didn't show it on the outside during this run, I'm sure there was a great weight lifted off of his shoulders. I think the last couple of days, some of his teammates said they noticed some frustration after his at bats. I know Judge even expressed that after the game last night. He said, there was a couple of times where I looked up and said, I'm only going to get one more at bat. I got to get this thing done. But for a guy like him, he's been such a great player for the Yankees, but we know what like their past means to that franchise and all those players that get mentioned, the Mantles, the Gehrigs, the Roos, even now the Jeters. Like, there's so many big players, and we always said Judge is going to be one of these guys. Judge is going to be one of these guys. But now we know for certain Judge will always be mentioned amongst the greats. And I think that I want to be with Judge when that finally really sinks in with him, because like all this is going along right now and it's a lot of hoopla and he's answering questions and he's around so many people and everyone wants a piece of Judge. But I want to be there in that moment when he's by himself and he starts to think back about this season and what he just accomplished, man. Because in the end, he's just a kid from California who played baseball and who had dreams just like everybody else and thought about these players. I mean, Babe Ruth is like a mythical figure, really. He's a legend, and he just surpassed that guy. And now he's that guy. And it's like he's going to have this realization like, wow, I'm going to be forever remembered. I just think it's really cool, man. I think it's very special, and I'm happy it happened to him and not some dude that, maybe isn't as, perfect as Judge, basically.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. I didn't get all tingly and stuff like that, just because to me, there's not much of a difference between 60 and 62. You and I have had this discussion offline. I think we're kind of aligned in that direction. That yes, it's an American League record, but I don't think much of an American League record. I just think of a home run record. I think anything over 60 is utterly out of this world. So if he hadn't gotten past 60, I wouldn't have seen this season any differently than I do today, is what I'm saying. And I actually think that we, meaning baseball fans, some people that talk about it for a living, have kind of done him a little bit of a disservice this year. Because all we've talked about is, well, is he really the MVP or is Shohei the MVP? Is 62 going to be a real record or is 73 a real record? And I think we've just kind of missed enjoying the ride and enjoying what he's done. Like, why isn't that good enough? And I've been guilty of it too. You know, I've sat here and talked about it. You've sat here and talked about it. People have sat here and said, well, this is definitely the real home run. Who cares? Let's just accept it for what it is, which is utter brilliance in a year where most numbers are down significantly. For a guy to get 62, to be such a team guy, to literally be larger than life, that is what we should remember. It shouldn't be, is he more important than Shohei? Is it a better number than Bonds? It should just be, and that should be good enough.
I think that's what Judge wanted too. I mean, it seems like that's kind of his attitude. You actually posed an interesting question to me on that offline chat that we had last night. You said if this was Salvador Perez, would we be talking about it as much?
No. The answer is
I'm
no.
not so sure, man, because that 60 number, I think every baseball fan holds 60 in a very high regard.
No,
you don't think so?
Unfortunately, no, because we're going to go down a road that I just said I don't even want to do, but I will. I'll humor you for a second.
Well, look, we've also we praised Judge all season long too. Okay, like we haven't
totally.
So like I'm okay with asking these questions because I think it's important.
No, if it were anybody outside of a Yankee uniform, it would not get the coverage. They would not be breaking into the Ole Miss football game on Saturday if it was Salvador Perez or Jose Ramirez or somebody else going for it other than a New York Yankee and Aaron Judge. That makes it more special, and I understand that. Like, it's the marquee franchise in the sport. It is the biggest player in the sport. It is the most recognizable player in the sport. So I understand all of that. I understand all of it. And I'm not going to sit here and say Yankee fans are wrong to feel this way or that way or the other thing. Like, I thought they actually had a good discussion last night on Yes, that you can feel any way you want about home run records and stuff like that. But facts are facts. Until baseball steps in and puts an asterisk by Barry Bonds, you can't say this is the home run record. You could feel it in your heart that it's the home run record, but you can't say it's the home run record because it's just not. And that's okay, too. That's okay. It doesn't diminish what he's done is what I'm saying. What he's done is kick ass. It's been awesome to follow. I'm proud of him.
And now you know what? None of it means anything because the playoffs are here, baby.
Oh, stop it. Don't say
Sorry, Aaron. You got to go keep doing it. I'm sorry.
That's not fair.
No, that's the truth. You know that's the truth, Chris.
All right, we got to continue on. The Atlanta Braves, they clinch a fifth straight NL East crown. Now, the Braves were 10.5 back of the Mets at the beginning of June. Some people said the division was over. How surprised are you that the champs came back and took down the division title?
I mean, I'm surprised. Okay, that's if you say that you were banking on this happening the whole time. I mean, come on. I get that it happened last year. They started slow. They got hot. They won the World Series. And I guess I can see how some people would say, oh, World Series hangover, they'll get it together. But there was a lot of like roller coaster peaks and valleys of their season here. Like if you recall, there was a time in Arizona, I think Snicker had a meeting. They were playing horrible baseball, and then they went on a run. And they cut that like 10.5 game lead down to like 5.5. And then they had a series where they went and they beat the Mets and they got it down. And then the Mets had a 5-game series and they took 4 of them from Atlanta and it looked bleak and they got down to 6.5 games. So it was like back and forth and back and forth. And then finally they just went on the run here at the end, took that series, and a lot of things had to go right for them to do it. So I am surprised, man. And I think that Mets fans are surprised and shocked too, because they have a very good team and a very good starting rotation that is able to stop those losing streaks. But Atlanta, it came down to one series, man. It came down to one series, and Atlanta just played better for those 3 games. So I'll say it again. I am shocked that they came back and won. I'm happy. It's a cool story. I think both these teams are really good. But anyone that was just banking on this to happen, you got lucky, kind of.
I don't think they got lucky.
Well, not the Braves. I'm saying the person banking on them to just have a great second half. I mean, that's
yeah. Okay,
up in the
that's
air.
Fair.
But no, they went and took the damn thing, Chris.
Sure they did. On June 1st, from June 1st on, they played 700 baseball. They went 77-33. The Mets went 65-44. That's still winning 60% of your games, which is damn good. Damn good. AJ Minter, I think, said it best for the Braves last night. He said, the Mets didn't choke this thing away. Like, we came and we took it from them. Because in society, and particularly sports, we're always looking for the reason that a team or an individual doesn't play well. We have a hard time, for whatever reason, saying that somebody did something better. Like, how often do you hear, we even had Seth Lugo say, hey, we're the better team. And I think we're going to get a chance to prove it. In another sport, Minka Fitzpatrick, who's a really, really good Pro Bowl safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers, said, it's frustrating when you lose to teams that you know you're better than. We have a hard time as a sports society tipping our cap to somebody else. And I don't know why that is. I have no idea. If I'm the Mets, I look at the Braves and I say, great job. Because you know what the Mets accomplished yesterday? For just the 4th time in franchise history, they won 100 games. You know how fucking hard that is? You do.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked about this yesterday on Talking Baseball. Okay, you said since June 1st, the Braves went 76-32. That's a 114 win pace. The Mets went 63-44. It's a 95 win pace. So they didn't choke this thing away. Like, literally, Atlanta went and just took it from them, man.
Yeah, they got it, and I think it's awesome for them. I am surprised because the Mets played that well, and it's hard to do what the Braves did playing 700 baseball over the last 4 months. That is really, really tough, particularly with the number of young guys they were relying on. And I thought that was great. They showed you why they're the champs. They are going to be ridiculously difficult out. And now the Mets, who have led, I think, 175 days, led the division 175 days compared to the Braves 8, have to play San Diego. Then if they win that, they got to play the Dodgers. And then if they win that, the Braves might be waiting for them. That is a gauntlet just to get to the World Series. And that is tough, tough stuff. No question.
The Timmy Trumpet series, when the Mets did their damn thing, they put the Braves back. I think they put them back to 6.5 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we calling Timmy Trumpet out here? Like, I know
No,
Seinfeld did.
stop with the Timmy Trumpet.
I'm just saying, bro. You were. That's kind of counting your chickens before they hatch type thing, man. You don't do that. I love Timmy Trumpet. Probably not his fault. But I don't know, man. Mets fans were saying that too at the time, Chris. I don't know if you remember that. They're like, what are we doing? We haven't won anything yet. And then sure enough, man, now you're playing in a wild card game. And Blooper, the mascot of the Braves, put out some bad tweets. My goodness.
Yeah. That was rough.
Jeez.
Hey, Baseball Today is presented to you by a good friend over at Muggsy. Those of you on the East Coast and a little bit in the Midwest, you have noticed that the weather has started changing a bit. So that means you need your comfortable jeans from Muggsy. But there's other things that they got. They got chinos. They got awesome denim jackets. I know that Plouffe, you've got one. They've got flannels. Everything you need for your fall wardrobe is available. So I want you to go to Muggsy.com and use the code word baseball. You're going to get 10% off your entire order. You have heard me talk about how they are my favorite jeans ever. They are so nice. I just got another pair. So I've got your classic blues to go along with my charcoal grays. They are super comfortable. They are stretchy. If you're a little more hippie, like, and I'm not talking about hippie like, yo, what up, dude? The 60s were great. Hippie, I'm talking about like childbirthing hips. That's something that I've got, dad bod sort of material. They come in great and handy. They still make you look sexy. Whenever I wear them out with Michelle, she's like, hey, all right, those things are doing it for me tonight. And so usually the Muggsy jeans end up on the floor, if you know what I mean. So once again, that is Muggsy.com. The code word is baseball. Get 10% off your entire order. They've got the stretchy denim jeans that are available. They've got the flannels. They've got the denim jackets. They've got the chinos. Everything you need to complete your fall wardrobe. Go out and get it today. Muggsy! All right. So now all 4 wild card series are set. National League, Padres at the Mets, Phillies at the Cardinals. American League, Rays at the Guardians, Jays hosting the Mariners. We're going to break this down a lot over the next 2 shows. But at first blush, which one storyline out of those 4 series are you saying, yeah, that's kind of caught my attention?
I went all over the place on this one, Zeros. This is what I was telling you before the show. I don't really have a good answer for this one because initially I went Blue Jays, Mariners.
Mm-hmm.
I think these are 2 teams that are kind of similar, like I think the Blue Jays maybe a year or 2 ahead of where the Mariners are at as far as the timeline, but dynamic center fielders, they went out and got guys, made trades. Like these are 2 teams that I feel like have really approached their window the same, and they've done it the right way. So I always like to watch and applaud teams for doing that. And I think that's going to be a really fun series in Toronto. It's aesthetically pleasing. I like that whole thing about it, but that's not the one I'm going to pick. Rays Guardians. That was my second pick. I thought that one's going to be amazing. We've talked about that, how they again are very similar. And I think they're 2 teams that kind of approach the game differently. But I think I'm going to settle on, Chris, the one I'm most interested in, Mets Padres. Just because like the Mets have been so good for so long, and they're kind of running into a Padres team where like the pitching is going right now. Like the top 3 guys they're going to face have been pitching really well lately. And like that season could be over, like we said, this weekend by Saturday night. This awesome Mets season where they won 100 fucking games could be over. And that's crazy to me to think about. I know you can say that about the rest of the series too, but I don't know, man. Like I'm a little bit scared for the Mets because I think, like I said, the Padres starting pitching is kind of going. I know they're going to have Scherzer and DeGrom, but they've kind of like, they haven't been as sharp as you'd expect as of late. I think that's going to be a really compelling series.
I think obviously I'll be glued to all 4 series and have one that's near and dear to my heart. But that Seattle-Toronto series is fascinating because of the number of guys who are 25 and younger that are going to play a vital role. Okay, right? On obviously the Mariners side, it starts and kind of ends with Julio Rodriguez. Although Kirby, Logan Gilbert, those are guys that are 25 or younger, could also play meaningful roles in that series. For the Blue Jays, Vladdy, still only 23, Bo Bichette, 24, Alek Manoah. So there's a lot of guys that are going to have a chance to put their stamp on something. And for Julio Rodriguez, like I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to ambush Manoah right out of the gate in game 1, assuming that I think Manoah gets the ball in game 1, right, over Gossman. I believe that's what I read. I think he leads all batters in terms of first inning production. 1,200 OPS, 7 homers in the first inning. Wouldn't surprise me if he tried. We saw him take over the spotlight at the All-Star game with the Home Run Derby. He's not going to be afraid of the big moment. So I'm just excited to see when young guys do well.
I think there's going to be a lot of like energy on the field for that series.
Totally.
Too. Like a lot of high T level going on with these kids, man. This isn't me and you out there like drinking some energy drinks. These guys don't need that, man. The crowd's going to be awesome. I do. That was the first series I gravitated towards, but then I started thinking about like, is it like a dire situation from the Mets? Like, I don't want to put that on them, but it really.
We've got 2 more shows still before first pitch, and I got a lot to get to on that. Let's move quickly through this one. Nats GM Mike Rizzo came out and said Steven Strasburg's 2023 is, quote, a bit of a mystery. Been dealing with a rib issue now that sounds pretty severe. How worried are you about his future in baseball?
I think I'm pretty worried because there comes a point in time where you just kind of get sick of rehabbing. It becomes very, very difficult on players. And like, if you're not seeing the fruits of your rehab, really, and it keeps happening over and over, and you get into this cycle that kind of Strasburg has, it could just be disheartening, and you can just say, maybe this isn't worth it. Maybe I need to go just be home now. So I don't want that to happen. I love watching the guy pitch. I think that if he wants to and wants to continue, I think he still has some years in him. And it would be a shame if one of the guys that we thought was going to be kind of an all-timer, his career gets cut short because of injuries. You hate to see that. I mean, that it happens in the game, but for a guy like Strasburg, who has the type of stuff that he has, who's had some of the success that he's had, it's sad, man. I hope it's not the end.
Let's start with this. He's not stopping anytime soon. He still has 4 years and 140 left on that $245 million extension. So I don't think he's just going to be up and quitting. I mean, he's made plenty of money so far. But I think he's going to give it at least one more year. And then if it doesn't come back next year, then I think that he would be willing to leave over $100 million on the table, which
some sort of buyout,
insane.
Something like that.
Exactly. I think that's what would end up happening. I'm worried. Guy's thrown less than 32 innings since signing the extension after the 2019 World Series. I'm worried. I loved watching him pitch. I hate to say this. He's never going to get close to what he was. And I mean, like, what's a good season for him now? Pitching, making 15 starts? Ugh.
I don't want to be mean to the Nationals, though, but, like, what's he coming back for? I think that motivation factor is there. Like, I know he wants to pitch. I get that. Yeah. So there's motivation there. But, okay, I'm going to come and sit and watch my team lose 100 games.
Yeah, bro, this scene could get ugly. That sucks. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I hated writing that question, but I thought it was newsworthy. All right, let's move on to this. We talked about Aaron Judge and a little bit about how the media covered his race towards 62, which included cut-ins during college football games. The Twitterverse didn't love that. And then yesterday, the Yankees had a day-night doubleheader in Texas. And so NBA Today, which airs on ESPN, decided to cut into Aaron Judge, or who they thought was Aaron Judge.
And there's a little early, I see.
Okay, if you're on time, you're late.
Yeah.
Who's this guy? If you're on time, you're
That's
late.
when you're a young player.
Well, for those of us that actually watch baseball when it's not historic, you're right about timing this. This is about to take another 5 minutes before he's back.
Jalen Rose, Richard Jefferson, Malika Andrews, they were hilarious because they cut to it and it was Higgy that was up. So they went to it in a bat early. Richard Jefferson goes, I hope it's not one of those 23 pitch at bats. That was some funny shit.
It's funny to see how other sports look at our sport. I always find that very interesting. And the fact is, actually, most sports are very intrigued with what the players have been able to do with our league. So I think that's a whole different discussion. But pretty funny for Higgy. He's only 52 homers behind Judge now. 52.
What do you have coming up on John Boy Media?
He's our buddy.
I know. What do you have coming up on John Boy Media?
I have an episode of Talking Baseball that just released this morning. It's our final All JM team. We awarded let's just say a Silver Daisy got awarded, maybe a couple. I'll let you guys listen to the episode. There were some big matchups there that we had to go through, but that episode is out. Definitely go check it out because it was a lot of fun. And then I think we're doing a Thursday. I'm not sure if we're going live, but we're going to do a preview of the playoffs, man. Me and Jake and Jimmy. So look out for that.
It'd be fun. Good. Justin Turner episode's still out. A lot of people obviously enjoyed that one. If you're a Dodger fan, you've been bugging me all season. Where's my Dodger? Well, there he is. There he is. Get to answer whether or not it's World Series or bust for that team. Some other great stories, some really good fantasy football stuff in there. It's fun to hear their perspectives on stuff. And he's a huge Miami Dolphins fan. We talked to him not about the two injury because it happened after we had our little discussion, but a bunch of other stuff that's interesting about how he became a Dolphins fan. And even though he grew up in LA and all good stuff, good stuff. And we just taped Ian Happ that I think will get out tomorrow. He gave us a playoff preview, talked a lot about his offseason, and being a family member here at John Boy Media. So it was nice to kind of interview him, I think, more than anything else. Nice. And, oh, by the way, our CJ Uzama, the third episode of the Chris Rose Football Show with Jets tight end CJ Uzama is out. We actually watched the Judge first at bat in the first game together because he's a bit of a baseball fan. And, nice. Yeah, he's one of his teammates, Mike White, who's a backup quarterback, is friends with Nestor Cortez. I think they played high school or travel ball together. So there's really some good baseball football crossover. So there you go. We'll do this again tomorrow. It'll be like first day in a while we don't have any baseball.
Yeah, you're right. Preview, a little bit of a preview tomorrow.
Big preview show. Big preview show.
Ooh, yeah.
So, for our outstanding producer, Robbie Scirocco, that is Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Thursday on Baseball Today.